Is that the ring? Is that the Super Bowl ring?
Yeah.
Oh, can you pull that up? Damn. Did you get that thing shined before you came out here?
It's amazing to watch people react, even if they're not football fans.
Yeah.
To watch them react to that Super Bowl ring and what it represents. And it's fun. It's fun. I don't wear it much when I do these types of events and maybe go do a speaking event. But it's fun to watch people react to it because they recognize what it represents.
How was the 25th anniversary when you came back?
That was pretty cool. They did. I tell you, the Ravens did a phenomenal job. It was great to kind of get everybody back together, to be back at the stadium and the fans responding to it. It's amazing to think it's been 25 years.
Yeah.
That it's been that long. And there's a lot of young people. I coached at the American Bowl last week. Great young players trying to make it in the pro football, back end of the draft type guys, smaller schools. There wasn't one of them alive when my Super Bowl was played. So you got to kind of remind them every now and then. But it was great to have everybody back together and reconnect with that history of the Ravens. And the fans responded to it. It was a great get together.
Yeah, gotten to speak and catch up with quite a few of your former players. I think Adalius Thomas was a rookie when you guys won. He also said he got fined for missing a lift. He said, I never missed one, and you hit him with a double fine, and Goose came up to try to work it out. And then you called him up to the office and said, this one will pass, but if you miss another one, I'll double or triple it.
Yeah.
Yeah, does that sound about right?
He sent his agent up. Yeah. Adalius was great. He was, I tell you what, one of my favorite players in terms of, just so energetic, quick to smile. And Adalius played literally every single position on defense.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan was incredibly inventive in terms of the defensive linebacker. We even had it free safety one time. Just an unbelievable athlete. Always quick to smile, great to be around. He's doing great right now. They look good.
Yeah.
When I saw him at the reunion. But Adalius was one of my favorite people in terms of just whatever you need me to do. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it.
He was a lot nicer to me than Brad Jackson and Brandon Stokely. Stokely shredded me. And I know
for what reason?
Okay, so how old do you think I am, Coach, out of curiosity?
You're gonna give me a tough time. I'm going to say you're in your mid-30s, early 30s.
Thank you. That's why you won a Super Bowl. You're on point with this right there. You're astute. I'm 32. Brandon, it's like you can't be a day under 50 because of your hairline. And I said, dude, it's so great to see you. Why are you on this show now? But in all seriousness, Brandon was great. Can be a little bit of pain in the ass for him. And then B-Jax texted me and said, oh, you're having Stokely on, but not me. I thought we were family. I go, well,
all right.
Yeah, come on next time. It is nice to reminisce. Baltimore still only has 2 Super Bowls. The run it takes to get there. But also, I'm curious on your side because all great things come to an end, right? And for you guys, I talked to Tony Dungy about 2006. I still said I haven't forgiven him and the Colts for that game, 15-6. Peyton didn't score a touchdown. Yeah, you know whose fault it was my dad's. He did the coin flip that game against the Colts.
I know a new guy to blame. I love it.
Yeah, new guy to blame. And you said, you know what? You only forgive him if we can go golfing.
Yeah, well, exactly right. That was such a great team to be a part of. The things that it had overcome, and obviously Indianapolis came in a very tough game, held and defense did a phenomenal job. The fact that we actually moved the ball, got it down in scoring position, threw that pick on that. But that's the way the game is. It's just that heartache that goes with it, the challenges. But it's those are the times obviously that you remember. And the changes they're going through now. I mean, John Harbaugh did a phenomenal job as a coach. But it was probably time, and I think it's a good thing for John. I think he's going to do a great job in New York.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to change the energy for no other reason than just that. And Coach Minter coming in, I think the Ravens are and they certainly have a good team.
Yeah.
So it's not like they have to rebuild. They're going to kind of constitute what it is they want to be, what they want to do. And I imagine they're going to be in the thick of it next year.
And they should be. That's why you have a good perspective of it, because the run you had in Baltimore was great. It actually was that giving that hope back. We were talking with a few Ravens prior that before the Super Bowl run, they reminded me, hey, the Ravens didn't actually used to have this great defense back in 96, 97 before you came to Baltimore. Then in 2000, I think it's still the greatest defense of all time.
I agree.
The shift of the Ravens culture kind of changed the mantra or motto with that. But it was a great run. And at the time for me, I was still younger because in 2000
well, if you're 50, then you would have been, you'd have been 25 when
you were doing so well. But when I thought about that, the personal side is I go, damn, I hated seeing you have to leave because I loved what you did, but you understand that. And on the business side, that's the part. I mean, John, as far as we're talking about financially, John ain't going to be hurting going to the Giants.
He's doing okay.
Yeah.
As I said when I left, the organization is a living, breathing entity, and it grows and it transforms itself. Bill Walsh was a firm believer that you couldn't be in one place more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Because that message, however sound and fundamentally sound, obviously proven that you lasted that long, sometimes it just needs that different voice, that little, what they say, kick the tripod. Just change the angle a little bit and the perspective. And that's all the Ravens are doing right now. They bring back Jesse Mentor, who's familiar with the organization, just to change that little bit of perspective on a team that now needs to kind of reconstitute itself in terms of what it wants to believe it's doing. And the organization as a whole needs to kick that tripod, not just in the coaching, but entirely to make sure that they are indeed have adapted to and are now reconstituted in a way that can continue the great legacy that they have.
And that's the good organizations, the great organizations are able to pivot and move seamlessly. The Ravens have done that. The Steelers have done it. Right. The Patriots have done it, even though, I wish they didn't win all those Super Bowls back in the day because a lot of them were knocking off the Ravens. But credit to the organizations for having to do that.
The Patriots are a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They have this unprecedented success. Then it changes, and they bring in a former player that they figured, okay, we can reconstitute this and just be an extension of what we did before. Well, no, because that didn't work. And then they bring in Mike Vrabel and the organization, as well as Mike, who had gone someplace else, come back now, could use that previous history as a touchstone. But now the organization as a whole needed to know, okay, we need to recalibrate and tap into that tradition we have, but recalibrate where we are, how we can now go forward with it. Yeah. And that's exactly what they've done.
Out of curiosity, just for all this side of it, because I don't understand some of the process. I still don't understand all the baseball side of the Hall of Fame with like ownership. And I know we know with the reason why with Bill being in or not the first time, we know the one reason it would be is because of going back to Spygate and the Deflategate. We understand that part. Robert Kraft also didn't get in, and I don't know the roles there. I can only speak on the baseball side, but it's still a vote overall. I mean, could you give me any insight onto how it kind of all works, or
don't know how to explain it? Shocking, obviously, because obviously it's like everybody said, well, what do you got to do to be in the Hall of Fame? I don't understand. Now, if those things that you mentioned are indeed a factor, okay, I get that. But all of Pete Rose is it's okay, but next year it's okay. Yeah, we'll just penalize them not being a first ballot. And we'll now, someone has to explain that to me.
Yeah.
I think the Hall needs to look real hard at the selection process and the people that they're doing it and what it is that they're trying to accomplish and what those standards are. Because you're talking about the Hall of Fame, something that's got to sustain itself forever. And there's got to be a touchstone, a foundation of what is it to be a Hall of Famer? What does that represent in this great game? And I'm not sure that they have a firm handle on that right now.
To give you the context on the baseball side, my dad went in 2007, and he had 5 people did not vote for him. So, I mean, hey, 97% of the vote, congratulations, Calvin. It was great. But those votes, he didn't get voted, not because they voted no. People protested because he played in the steroid era. And they said as a protest, And he would have said, could he have been the first unanimous? And again, unanimous are being elected. That's apples and oranges. Right. But years later, who was the first unanimous? It was Mariano Rivera. When did Mariano Rivera play? He played during the steroid era, but that wasn't a factor. Guys that were maybe in question, some of them haven't been voted in. Some have. Some will never be voted in. So it's hard to tell the story. And I look at this now with like Belichick and with Kraft. Brady, everyone's saying he's the greatest of all time, but then is Deflategate going to be held against him? And that, I think that's just the standard of how the evaluation's off.
The minute you bring in those cultural perspectives, you're going down a path. I don't know. You cheapen the entire process.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all evolved through a number of different circumstances that surround, I coached during originally as a player and then early years in coaches through the steroids and the all the things that guys were supposedly taking and doing and whatever. And it was just the environment we're in, and you dealt with it and you come out of it, obviously, better and safer for it. But to be penalized because that was the era that the guys that are being successful now, 10 years from now, we're not going to let them a Hall of Fame because they weren't DEI appropriate or what? I don't know. I mean, now you're warping the purity of the sport itself, and you're cheapening what the Hall represents. And
again, the Hall is supposed to tell the story for all the sports. That's why people ask me with baseball, but I appreciate you explaining football. I don't know if I fully understand it more, but you still had a great answer and thought process. To close it up with story times, and maybe with I don't know why I think of this game because we're talking about the Patriots. I still remember Bart Scott absolutely hucking that flag on the Monday night game against the Patriots. That wasn't fun because I felt like that should have been a win for you guys in a rough year. But maybe if it's from the Super Bowl or your tenure, doesn't have to be a moment on the field. But are there a couple things that jump out to you with Baltimore? Because, like, that's what I'm saying. You should come back and play golf. Like, people love you there. Like, they want you to come back and play golf. Maybe go and swim.
Oh, I would love to, because I didn't play. My life is in two. It's BG and AG, before golf and after golf. That's how I separate my life now. Because I just picked the game up 4 years ago, and now I absolutely love it. I tell you, one of the early memories, I'd just been hired as the coach, and they were going to tear down Memorial Stadium. So they had a big thing, hey, come and say goodbye to the state, whatever. And I wasn't living in Baltimore. I didn't know, but I went down. And I didn't go down as the coach. I just showed up. I didn't have PR set up. I just drove down walking around. And again, I'm just newly hired there, so people don't really know me necessarily. But a couple of people came up, and I remember my first introduction to Baltimore was a father coming up with his young son and showing his son around Memorial, and this is where Lenny Moore did this, and Joe, and Johnny United, and just telling all the stories, and the football and the baseball stories. And he comes over and he introduces his son. He says, Coach, I can't tell you how excited I am for you to be here and for the Ravens, because the Colts will always be my team, but the Ravens are his team. And that's going to be my connection with him.
Yeah.
And that one, coming in new to the environment of all the heartache of the Colts leaving, everything that is and was Baltimore, to hear it put that succinctly by that father and his son. I always remembered that. And then to have the success we did, and then people finally jumping on board and understanding, okay, the Colts are that, we are now the Ravens, and we can build, and thinking that's now 25, 30 years ago. It was exciting to be a part of that early insemination of really a new organization in a town that had great traditions, but now have embraced that. It was great to be a part of it.
Yeah, I know you make the joke about when kids say, you coached in the Super Bowl and all that. I think you said to me, and he goes, oh, those guys are dead. And you go, well,
not all of us. Not yet.
Thank you. But in Baltimore, that's going to live on for decades.
It's always great. I love people. Oh, I got to tell you.
Oh boy.
Even to today, I'll go through the airport, through Baltimore.
Yeah.
Someone will come up and go, Coach, you are my all-time favorite. You're the best coach ever. Coach Belichick, you did a hell. I go, well, I'll tell Bill when I see him, I guess. The Billick Belichick thing, some people still just struggle with.
Yeah, I guess the resemblance is.
I don't. I've even got stories about that. Bill was when I was when you go to the league meetings, you have lots of different deals, and you have a suit deal, clothier deal, and every year I go and I go, oh yeah, I like suit. So they got your measurements, whatever. So I went and I picked out a new black suit or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, that's fine. Didn't measure anything, just because they had it all. And I go, Coach, we got you covered. Well, because so a month later, comes in the mail, beautiful suit. I put it on, sleeve comes up to there. You know what happened? The guy went back and goes, yeah, this is for Coach, the Raven, Belichick. So the girl probably wrote that down. These are handmade suits. These were $5,000 suits. So I said, well, I'll send it to Bill. So maybe because
so did you get to trying the pants on yet? Or
I didn't know. Once I got to go,
good.
I'm not even going to try to do the
other. Oh, no, I just making sure. I've had people try the other way on first, but you were smart with that, Coach. I always love seeing you. I always appreciate your time. So a couple of things you got to do for me before we get out of here. Okay. One, you're going to have to come to Baltimore and we got to go golfing.
We will do it.
We got to do golfing. And two, if people want to find out more about X-Tech, where can they find all the info?
xtechpads.com or at xtechpads on Instagram. You need to go to the site and see the elements of how this has evolved, how it's been built, some of the demonstrations we have to really see this is the pad our young people need to be in. You need to go to xtechpads.com and see what it's all about and put your young people in this pad.
Well, if you need Bob or someone to test, you let me know.
We'll do it. We'll do it when we play golf.
Perfect.
Sometimes your dad and I will lose our temper.
You know what?
7 irons will fly.
They do fly.
Yes, they do. I can imagine.
Appreciate it,
All
Coach.
right, man. Thank you. That was